Welcome back. So we've talked about the habit loop, fast and slow brain, and the power of identity and tiny habits. Now we're going to focus on how we can use the habit loop to consciously create positive habits. Let's work through an example. So we'll assume a client wants to start a training program with you and hopes to work out first thing in the morning, 3 days a week. Let's walk through the habit loop to see how we can make it more likely that she consciously chooses this behavior and repeats it until it's habitual. Starting with the cue. The key is to make it something that occurs consistently. Now, in the example, she is choosing to work out first thing in the morning, which actually makes it easy because really not many things are likely to get between her waking up and her response of going to the gym and training. So an easy strategy is to cue yourself, if you're going to do and have your clients choose a behavior at any time of the day, is to find a statement where they are pairing their new behavior with something they always do. So creating a when I, then I statement. When I do X, then I do Y. Or in this case, it might look like when I wake up, then I work out. So have your client think about how they can tie the new behavior to something they're already doing, and bonus points if it's something that they do consistently day in and day out. And for the craving, one of the things that's challenging is you've got to get a little bit more creative because you have to think of what will make your client crave something that she's currently not doing. Now, one way to do this is to have her come up with a want to do activity and pair it with this need to do activity. So for example, if your client says, I really want to be spending more time with my friends, maybe she can pair that with her new need to do behavior of working out and training. To crave the workout, she would combine her training sessions with you with that other activity of hanging out with her girlfriends and maybe sign up for group training. So in this example, to crave her morning workouts, she signs up for group training with her friend, which makes her really look forward to her workouts even more and makes it much more likely that she'll hold herself accountable and show up to train. Now, let's talk about the response. This becomes really important because your client needs to make sure that the response that she's choosing is something she's likely to do. Now for this one, I usually have clients think of a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being equal to no chance of doing that response or behavior, and 10 being like absolutely certain can knock it out of the park. You want your clients to choose a response that they can stick with 90% of the time, or that they feel like they're 9 times out of 10 going to make happen. And when you talk to your client about training 3 days a week, maybe she says, yeah, absolutely, I can make that happen. I can commit to 3 days a week. But if your client came back and said, you know what, I only feel like I'm confidently able to do that 7 times out of 10, then you'd want to look at what would make that number higher. Does she need to go to fewer training sessions per week? Does she need to make those training sessions shorter? What would make her increase her confidence and make sure that she could absolutely do that response? Because we want them choosing behaviors that they're going to make likely to happen so that they can repeat them over and over again. And then finally, let's talk about the reward. How can your client reward herself for her new behavior? What immediate response can she include in her routine that would make it feel like an absolute win? For years when Chris and I ran a women's only fitness boot camp first thing in the morning, we had several women who would come to camp only because on the days they made it to their workout, they would stop at the coffee shop afterward to reward themselves for having gotten that exercise in. Have your client consider what she can use as a reward for her efforts in order to make it much more likely to stick with. Immediate rewards are best, but as long as she finds any behavior or any reward rewarding and it doesn't compete with her ultimate outcome, well, then anything can really work here. By consciously thinking through the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward, your client can create support for her new behavior and increase the likelihood that she will keep on forming that behavior and repeating it until it forms a new habit. So the next time you or your clients have a habit that you want to work toward, consider how you can use those 4 elements to make it stick. See you next time.